that
Hello guys and
Malala's
welcome
found
to
himself
TFT
into,
and
and I
regional
want to
finals
kind of
set 10
caveat it
last
with
day,
the fact
game
that
number 4.
right now the standings are extremely close. He's at the top of the standings with only a 2-point gap between him and third, and then a 3-point gap between him and fourth. So even if you're on the outside looking in right now, you cannot give up. Malala may be in the lead. The thing is, he may not even be in the lead after this next game.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got Prismatic Prelude, and so when you see a portal like that, I feel like all bets are off when it comes down to sort of the variance that we can get with a portal like this. What do you really go for? I've been asking everybody this when we see like a Prismatic Augment first. What are you hoping to see? Like, do you usually, as a player, pick like a supportive augment, or do you try to pick something that has to deal with damage?
That's a great question, because I think that's ultimately what determines what kind of TFT player you are, right? We've talked about it all weekend, how this patch in particular lets players show how they want to play the game. Personally, I am the kind of player that I would rather just have combat power, because I am afraid of missing, and so when I miss, I'd rather be stronger, because I'm kind of expecting to. If I take the econ augment, I'm missing anyway. That's just me. Some players, though, I know, like, for instance, Weird is one of those players that I would expect them to take the kind of augment that would opt you into more high variance, right? We've seen them take things like the heroic grab bag on golden, on the golden portals. On the prismatic portal, though, you know, who knows? Maybe we see him take something like the cruel pack and try to reroll a 3 cost or whatever it is. But I think that those kinds of things, when you go into a prismatic lobby, it kind of does force you to either play in your comfort zone, or on the flip side, show that you're an innovative player that's able to play through pure intuition, and even with the higher variance of the game, make the best of it. I don't exactly know what we're going to get out of this, but I think it's going to be really important to see what each player actually takes.
Let's find out, shall we? Malala is offered Caretaker's Chosen, March of Progress, and the Twin Terror is instantly rerolled. I'm not a super big believer of the Twin Terror nowadays, but I think March of Progress is a really, really great augment to take as one of your first ones that you get, because you're kind of just like, I'm gonna let the game sort of do the leveling for me, and it's sort of an econ augment in its own right, where you're not spending the money there to level, and you still know when you're actually going to be able to hit your specific 2-3 cost champions, you know?
Yeah, I'm wondering if, you know, based on the fact that Malala does have this very clear pentakill start, has the pentakill Olaf, the Mordekaiser, and the Gnar already on the board, if this is going to be a straight sort of Kayle reroll. I mean, obviously it's going to be some sort of reroll, right? And the lines we have seen have primarily been the Senna, the Kayle, and the Seraphine. From this position, he does have a very clear line into the Kayle. I don't know exactly if he's going to hard commit to that or if he's going to keep his options open. The other thing to consider, though, is he actually has these 2 Heartsteel units on the bench, too. So he can kind of flex these Heartsteel units into giving him additional economy. And because he doesn't have to spend any gold actually leveling, it means that he'll be able to slow roll and play the game a little bit more slowly than other players, because he's building up that econ significantly easier than other players.
Oh, you're gonna have to keep scouting eye, though, into the middle of stage 2 to see if anybody else is gonna try to contest you for something like that, you know, reroll. Dish Soap does get the Tarek, but also just some really strong champions to try to go for a Heartsteel start a little bit later.
March of Progress as well, though. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, which means right off the bat, we've got 2 players saying, I'm rerolling. The other one saying, no, I'm rerolling. We're gonna have a spot. Yeah,
no
exactly. The question here, and this is what we talked about a few games ago, we actually have not seen players contest each other on the reroll lines, but with prismatic augments, there's a handful of different augments you can get that will really push you in that direction. I'm looking at Replay, who has Shopping Spree. It's not uncommon to see players look to play around level 7 rerolls with Shopping Spree, but also players like Rain, who have Pumping Up. Because of this, we've got multiple players who are trying to play some sort of, you know, when you think of the curve of their game, they're going to be spiking significantly harder in stage 4 than they are right now. Because of that, that means 4 players who are essentially sacrificing early game tempo to make it up later on, but only one of them can actually get the win out. That's 3 players looking to play for win out at some point in the game that will not have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, because that's when we look at the two cost reroll options, you're looking at Seraphine, Kale, and Senna. And we did just see Dish Soap and Malala Spider-Man pointing at each other with the Kale sitting on the bench. So you can't be thinking too much about maybe trying to contest that Kale line. But what are you kind of thinking here about Kyun's board?
This is Samira 2 on board right now with a 4 bruiser. If you can get some sort of executioner, all of a sudden this board is already very strong, but once you get executioner in, it is infinitely stronger. Kyun is playing around spoils of war augment right now. So what he's trying to do, we're talking about the opposite, where a lot of players are sacrificing early game board strength to try and make it up later. Kyun is saying, I believe that my board is strong enough right now that I'm going to be able to increase the tempo of the lobby, kill units, get gold, get resources, and because of that, I'm going to be able to streak my way through stage 2, stage 3, and then have enough resources to hit this either Samira 3 or maybe transition into some sort of level 8 board ahead of the tempo. With multiple spatulas on this carousel, Kyun certainly has the opportunity to try and play around some sort of country line.
But is he actually going to be afforded the opportunity to take a spatula?
No. The answer is no.
No. I feel like when you look at all these reroll compositions, a lot of them would love to have some sort of emblem to help complement the traits that are supporting that particular 2-cost reroll. And so you look at the people that actually took those spatulas, you see Dish Soap, you see Prestivan, and we'll have to see if Rain can make something done here as well. But when I take a look at a board like this, Rain has been trying to play a lot of those 2-cost rerolls, and you see the Senna on the bench.
Yeah, great call out. She certainly has. She has the opportunity to potentially make, true damage spatula. We're seeing it come through right now. So Rain Plosion has the Senna already. And we talked about the importance too of kind of signaling to the lobby, right? Degree did it earlier in stage 2 of the last game. It said, hey, everyone look at me. I'm playing Kale. Rain doing the same exact thing even before she finds the Senna headliner on stage 3. She's trying to tell everybody in the lobby it is not worth contesting me because I've got nowhere else to go from here.
Yeah, I think at that point too, if she's able to get a couple extra copies of the Senna on her bench, then it vastly reduces the chances of anybody else being able to hit that Senna later on. But now you're also sort of playing this arms race between all these 2-cost reroll players. When you look at some of the augment choices that these players had taken early on, like specifically looking at Dish Soap with the March of Progress, do you wait then for someone else to hit their reroll composition so that you have a higher chance later to hit all of your 2 costs? Who gets to have that 3-star online first?
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of tricky because you've got 2 different March of Progress players, but you also have the shopping spree of replay. So there is a certain level of value in waiting to see what's actually coming through from the other boards. But while we see it, I want to call out the fact that Prestivan took Spatula, right? And then made the Heartsteel emblem right after the carousel, is now on a 4-loss streak going up against Dish Soap, is certainly going to lose this one as well. And I don't know, I'm assuming based on what we're seeing, this is a Heartsteel Cassante, correct? Which means that he's going to have a very easy time fitting in 5 Heartsteel on stage 3, because all he needs to do is find a single Aphelios and then one of the 3 costs. Or no, wait, not even, right? If it is a Heartsteel Cassante, wouldn't that mean he just...
emblem...
And then 3 units. Okay, yeah. So the headliner, the emblem, you still need 3.
Yeah, you were right.
Yeah. But either way, it means that Prestivan's going to have a very easy time finding 5 Heartsteel on stage 3. And with Buried Treasure, this is an excellent shape of your game. Buried Treasure, another one of those augments where you give up a lot of power in stage 2. You can see right here, he 5 lost through the entirety of the stage because he's going to be making it up by the start of stage 3. And at the start of stage 3, if he's able to actually find those 3 Heartsteel, he now has an opportunity to say, actually, I want to dig a little bit deeper and go for even more resources. The question is then, is he going to have either the APM or the rolls on level 8 to make that transition, because we've seen so many players go there with 1 life left and then just fail to stabilize.
I was gonna say, or the HP, because if Prestiminute loses too much, then you just might not have enough to stabilize against any of these 2-cost rerolls that hit before you. It's going to be a level 5 though from Prestivant, so making sure that he can stabilize a little bit better, which is having an extra unit in. Maybe he was able to find another Heartsteel, but Dish Soap is also making some big adjustments to his board.
Yeah, finds the Kale Headliner, has the opportunity to make the Pentakill Spat and the Gunblade, but doesn't have Ginsu's Rage Blade, an item that is very, very standard in this comp. So there's actually a world where Dish Soap just does not slam the Gunblade until he feels like he's able to actually get the Rage Blade online. Instead,
it's an item carrier.
Morello's plus IE. I don't actually, I'm not super familiar with this line to know if this IE does mean that he's just straight up opting into a 3-cost reroll instead. But I don't think this is actually going to be the Kale reroll then.
No, this is also the Edgelord Kale, and you don't always... Like, I think it gives you a little bit more versatility if you have the Pentakill one, because it can cap a little bit higher. But you did get the 8-bit in, so at the very least you have the 8-bit starting to stack, as well as the Edgelord. And now I wonder actually if you go 8-bit Riven in that spot to try to go for the 3-cost Riven and give her the IE.
Yeah, with the open spat, I mean, IE is definitely not a bad item on Riven. You have so much base AD that it can be very strong. It's not typically best in slot, but at this point in time, Dish Soap wants to be able to, play from some level of tempo. Having the Indomitable Will, though, as his second augment, definitely signals to the lobby, I'm not playing Kale. I'm going to be playing some sort of melee carry. With the Riven online, though, like you're calling out, excellent transition point from Dish Soap.
Now we look at Rain's board, who has been able to find an Echo Headliner instead of the Kennen. So you've got the Sentinel. Maybe would have wanted the true damage there just to be able to have the 4 true damage online, but you're still looking at the having the Senna carry instead. But at this point as well, can she hit that? Well, I don't know how many Sennas are actually on the bench there. Hard to tell.
Yeah, there are a lot of... I feel like I have a lot of questions about a lot of boards happening right now, and it's hard to keep track of all of them because I'm looking at things like Replay, who's still holding on to this Vi, and with Serix Gage and Even Shroud also looks to be playing around some sort of melee carry. On the other side, we saw someone like Degree playing Harm Assist Silver Veil, but then having the Vex Headliner and playing around a backliner. So it feels like, and Degree had rolled down to 10 gold. So I'm not sure if Degree was trying to play around the Katarina and just missed, but definitely did not feel like the optimal position. So at this point, with these players who do seem to not be exactly where they want to be, it opens up the opportunity for players like Malala, who are in a pretty reasonable stage 3, and Weird, who has a strong board as well, to kind of take advantage of the low rollers or the players who who don't really have a comfort spot. Because if you're able to either leverage tempo, save HP, and take advantage of that slower play we're going to see on stage 3, it makes it a lot easier for you to find yourself a top 4, even with a suboptimal board on level 8.
I think with Malala's spot, it actually feels really good. You have March of Progress, which is one of the best augments to have with an AP line, and you saw a couple of copies of Seraphine, still pretty good items for the Seraphine as well if you want to go Seraphine reroll, but nothing that's too inflexible that you couldn't go for something like a Lulu reroll instead. It just sort of depends on what you hit, and there were a couple of copies of the Lulu on his bench as well.
Taking a look at the standings right now, Prestivant and Rain rounding out the bottom half of that. Keep in mind, again, Rain does have Pumping Up and a Lesser Duplicator, so she is clearly angling to play around a stronger stage 4 than a stage 2. We're seeing right now, Weird has the opportunity to raise the stakes, and it seems like he's considering it. He does instead just take the cash out, wants to play it safe. Yeah, Weird really showing some character growth on this episode right now.
A little bit more fear in his heart at this
Zale's
point.
Advice.
You might have to. I actually want to go back to Rain's board for just a quick minute to discuss that, like, she's not
right
going. Yeah, oh, that's great. Okay, actually found the Senna headliner. I was really worried about her for a while because the Senna headliner wasn't showing up. She is on level 6 right now and didn't have very many copies of the Senna, but she's rolled down quite a bit since the last time we had checked out her board just a couple of seconds ago. Is able to make 30, but still, you still have a couple of copies to go, and there are a few players that are holding onto the Sennas, even if briefly, and Weird is one of them that has 2 Rage Blades. So
very true. Very true. Yeah, Rain's gonna have to keep an eye on that, see if it actually does prevent her from hitting. She does have one additional. Oh no, she took lesser champion team building is what it's called. 2 lesser champion duplicators that will come on 3-2, and then after 7-player combat, you'll get another one. So if you think of it, you know, she currently has 5 Sennas, but in a way she has 7. Once she finds 2 more, she's locked in. And what that does mean is it makes it a little bit easier for her to push levels. Maybe roll on 7 if she has that opportunity, because now that she's won a round, she does want to try and retain that streak. Being able to play around the true damage Ari, add the Akali once you can, does make your board significantly stronger. So if she can win this next fight, I actually feel pretty good about Rain's spot in the game.
yeah, I want to check back in a couple of rounds to see, even after Wolves, if she is able to hit a couple extra Sennas. But taking a look at Prestivin's board, we are seeing double Caitlyn in the back line. It is going to help out with Prestivin to not take too much of a loss and continue gathering up some of those hearts for Heartsteel. But Malala does have 6 copies of Seraphine, if in fact he wants to go for the reroll, but is going a little bit more vertical in terms of the KDA. Has the opportunity, though, to go for the Spellweaver instead, having held onto those poppies as well. Or those Lulus, sorry. Other Yordle, my bad.
You can see that he is going to be putting an additional item component on the Seraphine with the super fans in. And this is a really interesting tech. If you've never seen this before, because the super fans give you an item, it means that you're going to be able to pop those items off. But now we're looking at Kiyun's board. Has the Executioner Samira online as well. And with that, only 2 Samiras off from actually hitting, but only 1 because he has the Champion Duplicator. So probably going to be a reasonable roll down here to try and get this board online. It is not the country variation, which means he's going to be going more vertical into the Executioners instead. You'll expect something like either 4 or 6 Executioner. Despite only needing 1 Samira, though, does not hit on the roll down. Thankfully, though, it's got plenty of HP to spare and really good items. The Giant Slayer and the IE mean that this Samira is going to be pumping out damage. And once you get 4 Executioner online, if she's able to actually just free fire and the front line holds up, she will take out pretty much any front line that you're going to see through the early stages of stage 4.
It just needs a couple more copies. I'm paying a close attention, though, to how this fight is going between Kyun and Replay, because that set is very powerful, even though the Ezreal is going to dash away. But Replay is continuing to take a bunch of hits. And
how many rolls does he have, though, right? He's got the shopping spree, which means that he might be able to do a huge roll down. Replay is level 8 right now, so it's probably going to be important to see what he's adding to his board. I don't know if we can either go to his board right now or just see it in the sidebar. But Replay is going to have to make some meaningful differences on his board. We do see, though, that 8-bit emblem is online for Dish Soap, is clearly trying to play this Riven, but did not hit the Riven headliner. Because of that, he's going to have to wait a few rounds, try and econ back up, only 20 gold. Instead has what I'm assuming is still 6 8-bit in, because it's probably 8-bit Garen. I'm assuming that is why this was chosen.
Yeah, and on the flip side of things, when you look at Kyun's board, we did not get a chance to actually see the Samira hit either. So still sitting at that 2-star Samira. And Replay's board here is looking, I don't know if you want to take a Zac, is kind of how I would put that.
I don't think the Zac is bad. It's just that Zac, when you don't have Ezreal 2 Z2, right? It's a supplementary unit on this board, and it does make you really strong. But it's certainly not the reason you're going to win fights when you have 1-star units. Replay, unfortunately, just missing. And I don't know if that was that he didn't have enough gold. I don't know if it was just a tragic roll down. All of a sudden, though, this is looking extremely scary for Replay. He's going to have to hit very hard right now.
Well, he's got the 2-star set and still has a couple of rerolls left to work with, but is
line.
keeping the EDM Zac in the front without very much else to try to
Needs
supplement
damage.
that. Well,
Okay, that's
there's
good.
the 2-star
Good hit.
set. Yes, that's a great hit with those items as well, but you're still looking at how you can best support this comp, and you're still at a 1-star Lucian and a 1-star Ezreal.
Oh man, I mean, it's a really strong board, but the fact that he still has multiple shopping spree rolls and just no gold is really sad at
So
23
broke.
HP. He really needs to be able to stabilize his board right now. And yeah, the Zed is going to be a huge hit, but you know, you have a prismatic augment that should guarantee you this. So you're not necessarily stronger than you normally would be, although it is strong enough to beat Rainplosion before she hits Senna 3. After this round, I believe she'll actually get that second champion duplicator. With that, she'll have the Senna 3. But man, it is not a great spot for replay unless he can actually just pull a rabbit out of the hat right now.
What's really interesting is seeing just how many reroll players haven't hit. Weird is on a 2-star Senna with 2 Rage Blades. Like, I'm a little concerned about Rain being able to hit in that regard, unless Weird is going to try to pivot out later to something else that can utilize those Rage Blades, but it's definitely not helping in terms of how many Sennas are in the pool.
Yoon once again trying to find that Samira, but on the left-hand side, Weird doing his roll down right now. We talked about the Sennas being on the board. This is probably the turn where it will leave. The Akali is found, which actually does mean that Weird can hold these Sennas on his board and still have a meaningful upgrade that supports the shape of his board. Finds the Ezreal 2, great items for it as well. It's really now just a question of what's going on the Ezreal, what's going on the Akali. Yeah.
There's the Urgot, actually. Ooh, Kyun hit the Urgot.
Yep.
Okay, actually just gave up on the Samira there and put the items on the Urgot instead. What do you think of that?
Well, Urgot is extremely powerful. Having the country variation is usually better as well, and your front line is decent. However, you don't have any sort of lifesteal right now apart from the 2 Mosher. I don't know that something like Bloodthirster is necessarily all that much better. I feel like having something like a Hand of Justice probably would feel a little bit nicer, but with his items right now, having just the Rod, my concern is that it's just hard to get everything you want, right? Because you're playing country, you want to be able to find a cloak off of the creep round to make the country emblem, but you also need to find a 3rd item for your Urgot, but you also need to find some sort of anti-heal for your board. Kyun has some of the pieces, and I think the best part about his spot right now, though, is the fact that he has 69 HP and has bought himself enough time to try and get all those pieces in order.
I think there's just a lot of people that have been struggling, and I don't know if he really would have wanted to... I think he still would have wanted to be able to find the Samira, but think about how much gold he had rolled down on and didn't have it. Now we've got Dish Soap going up against Replay. Replay still has yet to find the 2-star Ezreal or the 2-star Lucian. Wow. And looking at Dish Soap's board, you've got this 8-bit Riven or the Edgelord Riven online, and that Lucian is going to fall over. Replay now taking yet another big hit. Can't stabilize here. Gangly, this is not looking good.
No, this is catastrophic for Replay. An 8th place here would drop his average placement significantly. The fact that he took shopping spree and was just not able to find any sort of stabilization on level 8, I mean, this is horrible, but you can actually see he's 60 gold and has shopping spree rolls left. He actually had the opportunity to dig deeper, and he chose not to. I think is he trying to go 9 from here? Because if he's not, I don't know why he wouldn't have just rolled in the previous round.
I mean, you still have the shopping spree, so there you go. You called it. You go 9 here, but with the reroll, what do you find? There's the 2-star Ezreal. You had a better chance now going that level 9, but what else? You're still broke.
So, okay, here's the thing. he was able to go 9. I think for him, the go button was finding the 4th EDM, the Lux. I think he's saying that is my next in. With the rolls that I'll have next turn, it will be enough to try and find Ezreal 2. Unfortunately, he's not able to get a really strong 3rd item on this Ezreal. That's probably the worst part. He is able to get a bit more frontline to try and protect this Zed, but even just looking at where this Akali is, that Zac is not going to protect the Zed very much at all. Depends on whether this Akali actually targets it. And on the other side, there's 2 Ezreals fighting in the back line. However, the Zed is going to survive. The Ezreal does enough damage. Replay stays alive for another round.
Okay, that is just the razor's edge we've talked about for all of these AD flex boards. You have to be able to find your high cap, and maybe replay has been able to get this 1 win, but he still needs to string together a couple. That is the Lux 2 though, so you do have the full EDM online as well as that Lux 2 upgrade, but you're running into so many other boards that have hit their carries, that have hit those 3 stars. Degree is running Katarina reroll. I thought I had seen that a little previously, but it's the country variant again. Have we not learned our lesson?
Yeah, unfortunately, Degree had dug really deep and had not found a better version, but this matchup is actually very good because the Senna, while she deals a lot of AoE damage, struggles to be able to take out single targets. We're looking at Weird right now up against who I'm assuming, it looks like Kiyun. Kiyun is going to fall there, forcing Weird stays alive, and look at our HP. 5 HP for Rain, all the way up to Prestivan at 18. The next fight is going to determine a wild amount of placements, and it's really important to see players like Replay who desperately need a good placement in this one.
Absolutely bad for Lulu, and this is what you want to see coming out from a 5 KDA and 5 Spellweaver board. Seraphine reroll can be really powerful if you're able to get that 3-star frontline, and that Nico is going to buy so much time for the Seraphine to be able to dish out that damage. Meanwhile, though, we've got to check in on our 2 players that are on Elimination Station. We've got Rain that has this 3-star Senna online, but look at how much this Riven is doing. It's just shredded that frontline, and Rain is going to get eliminated. Degree is able to hang on though, but Replay has taken another hit.
No, oh my goodness, Replay goes down in 7th. Oh my goodness, just like that, Replay, when it looked like he might have stabilized. Unfortunately, the 2 HP difference would have kept him alive. And with that, another 7th place spells disaster for Replay's run.
That's so unfortunate and is probably so disappointing for Replay himself. There's only 2 more games after this to try to make up for the deficit that is starting to accumulate for those average placements, and I wonder how much you start to look back on something like the EDM Zac pickup as your headliner. Felt like such a panic choice to have to try to fill that out with the 4 EDM. On the flip side, Prestivan as the EDM Zac, that it's not it's the EDM Zed, it's not bad. You still have great itemization here for this Zed to really keep it alive with the double Omnivamp, just the double Hodge. Where do you go from here though?
Well, you know, you look at his carries, and his carries are very strong, right? You've got a lot of stuff, but it's everything else. You're running a lot of units that aren't doing all that much for your board, right? You have this Cassante in, you have a Heartsteel emblem. Yeah, you have a lot of items. I will say the double Ginsu's on Lucian is extremely powerful, but the Viego in the back line is going to be able to take it out. And this Riven, there's just not enough damage on Prestivan's side. Dish Soap takes out Prestivan. He finds another bot 4, and with Weird going down to Malala, that's going to round out the top 4.
And who can take down Dish Soap at this point? You got that 3-star Riven, which we've been talking about, is just a really great way to be able to deal with these 80 flex boards, especially if you high roll and that Riven actually jumps towards the back line and is able to start slashing them down. And for a lot of these boards, the power level has just really spiked, and a lot of these players now playing the 80 flex don't have 2 stars on the backline. They are going to be way squishier targets for that Riven to take care of. Degree, though, has been able to sneak away with a top 4, but is now going to run into Dish Soap with this powerful Mordekaiser 3 that he just hit before this combat.
Yeah, Mordekaiser 3, Riven 3 on board, and this matchup is very hard for Katarina. Pretty much the only way for Katarina to ever win is if it is a 1v1 for the Katarina and the Riven somehow found herself on the opposite side of the board. You can see just how difficult that is right there. Degree, not even close, goes out. On this side of the board, though, looks like Malala will fall to this Urgot 3. And Kiyun, in a spot that was maybe not looking that good at his initial roll down, did this fantastic pivot, found the country emblem. It now has 7 country online, and Kiyun, who's currently in 3rd place in the standings alongside Malala in 1st, is in a spot where these 3 players can start to even maybe run away in the standings if they can make a big enough gap between them and the bottom, which we've seen players like Prestivant and Replay once again take another bot 4.
That's a great call out there. It just feels like it's going to be so difficult to make a comeback, especially when there are a lot of players that are willing to take those risks. Especially when it comes to Dish Soap's board, we did see a failed Riven reroll earlier on because he just simply didn't hit the Riven 3-star. But again, looking at players like Kiyun, one way you can actually cap out a country board is truly by getting that 7 country online, and that Dreadsteed is going to be ultra helpful with some of these other boards that are higher in levels. You just get that extra unit.
Up against the Ghost there from Dish Soap, most likely going to be a win. So we're going to be hopping on board with Dish Soap, who is at Death's Door up against Malala. Now, one of the nice things about this, despite the fact that Ari is usually pretty good into the Riven, if the Riven's able to get to the back line early enough and actually just able to take out the front line fast enough, it can usually be pretty decent. But no, actually, so this is exactly what I was... Whoa, Caitlyn, never mind. I thought that was going to go one way, and it very much went the opposite. Riven usually does... And it's exactly how it always happens, and it's always the Caitlyn with the very last ult. Great fight win, but this fight for Riven really wants to try and dodge single target damage. I'm curious to see how it actually plays into the Urgot, which is a lot of straight upfront damage, but doesn't have the consistent DPS to maybe prevent the healing, and there's no anti-heal on the side of Kiyun's board either. So if these players go up against each other right now, despite the fact that there's a lot of damage, I'm not entirely convinced that it's going to be enough to take out the Riven. But there is a Vex 3. Riven's on the opposite side, though, going to be dodging some of that damage. With Viego as a big cast as well. Now the Riven is past the thresh on the Urgot now, straight into the back line. Not enough consistent DPS to take out that Riven. And Kiyun will fall to Dish Soap. Is it enough? And it's just enough to eliminate Kiyun in a 3rd place.
Which is wild because Kiyun still had upgrades he could have gone for. Looking in his shop, he had an opportunity to try to rebuild to a Samir 3 as well as the Amumu 3, which would have helped out a lot in terms of the power spike of the board. But you're still going up against Malala that has 60 gold in the bank. Dish Soap has basically hit a cap for the board outside of being able to find maybe like an Aphelios 2 or even changing that to a Lucian later on. And Malala is still on the ups from here. You can get the Ziggs 2, you can get the Kaisa 2. So many more places that he can go from here. And we get a chance to see these boards go head to head with Malala actually hitting the real board this time from Dish Soap.
All right, we'll see. Last time we did see the Riven on that front line for quite a while. Eventually, the Caitlyn was able to clutch it out, but it does look like the back line's now on the Riven, but the Riven's straight onto the back line. She's not able to actually get that final cast onto the Seraphine. Because of that, Dish Soap will fall.